I was just having a wee googly woogly there, because somebody just whispered in my ear that workers at Greggs have got a bonus based on the success of some of their vegan products, and it fits in very nicely. Hang on, I'm trying to get the info on this, but the link isn't working. Here it is. Greggs employees will each receive a one-off bonus up to £300 following a successful year for the business, and a lot of the press reports are putting it down to boosted sales through vegan sausage rolls and vegan products. There you go. It's working for them. It's veganuary. I have no idea how to say it, but I'm sure you're familiar with it. January, people being encouraged to go meat-free or plant-based, however we say it. And everyone is going mad for it, aren't they? Sandwich shops like Greggs, fast food chains, supermarkets, they're all pushing plant-based products like there's no tomorrow. And it's clearly good for business, if that story is anything to go by. Greggs employees will be very happy this morning with a £300 bonus. But is it that good for the rest of us? We've got nutritionist Becca Miller with us in the studio. Good morning, Becca.
Morning.
Good morning. And legal counsel for Go Vegan World, Barbara Bolton, is with us as well. Good morning to you, Barbara.
Good morning.
Good morning. Well, are you flush with success? I mean, everyone's going vegan mad these days, aren't they?
Well, I'm really glad to hear that Greggs are thinking of their workers, because, very hard workers and probably not paid very much. And so I think it's useful to acknowledge that human rights, workers' rights and animal rights all go hand in hand. And veganism's about respect for others, and that includes other humans. So that was quite a good intro to the whole topic. At Go Vegan World, we're not about promoting veganism specifically in January or in any other month. We're about promoting veganism as a change of mindset in general life. And that's what veganism really is. It's about changing how you view the human relationship with the other sentient life who are on this planet with us, and acknowledging this is the habitat that we all share. And human supremacy and supremacy within humans, one to think that certain humans are superior to others, that is the fundamental problem that I think has led to the destruction that we're now seeing on the planet.
So do you applaud the way that big businesses seem to be embracing veganism, or plant-based is becoming the kind of popular term?
Yeah, there's good and bad in it, as with most things. So I think it's very helpful for people that there are now many more options, particularly in terms of things like grab and go for lunches and when you're travelling. My mum went vegan last year. She's in her 70s and she really likes the Greggs sausage roll. It's very handy for her. And it can be good in transition times when people are transitioning to...
And why is your mum doing it, though?
Well, she's doing it because over the past 7.5 years, she had one vegan daughter, then 2, then 3, and a vegan son-in-law, and she's learned a lot over those years. My sister in Fort William runs a vegan festival every year, and my mum goes along, and she's learned, her own beliefs were always that we shouldn't be causing suffering or death to other animals, and yet she was paying people to kill other animals for her.
Right, so it's out of animal concern then that she's made this decision?
Yes. Yeah. It's a recognition that her own principles, her own beliefs mean that she shouldn't be participating in that. Yeah,
it's just to bring you in this, Becca, in terms of people making a decision to either go meat-free or to cut down on meat, and also if we're talking about vegan, we should be talking about dairy as well. Yeah. There's a number of reasons that people could do it. Barbara, obviously particularly concerned about exploitation of animals and other humans, as she said at the beginning. Health reasons, it's obviously being very much promoted for health reasons. Yep. And also for concern for the environment. When these big business interests get involved in the grab and go, as Barbara says it, is it necessarily that much healthier? Because, I kind of agree. I go into supermarkets and I think, it's great that I can, because, I'm vegetarian, largely. I do eat fish, I feel I have to confess. But I think, that's great, there's so much more choice. And I think, actually, it's processed food at the end of the day. It's usually wrapped up in plastic with another cardboard wrapper around the top of it. I'm not sure it is that much healthier.
I don't think it is much healthier on the whole, but there are components of it that are going to be healthier. If you choose, say, a veggie nugget as just a random thing, it's got fibre in it. It's got, there are things in there that the kind of fake meat or the meat doesn't have in there if you're looking at it from a fibre point of view. I'm looking at this from a health overall point of view, and I think you're quite right. I think there's probably very little from a health perspective, not emotional or anything to do with the environment or any of these things, but you look at sausage rolls we've been talking about there. Yeah, that's 6 of one and half a dozen of the other if we were to sit and actually debate, the fat content or the salt content or so on.
Wrapped in pastry.
Yeah, if people are doing it from just a health point of view. Obviously, we have the people, planet, animal point of view as well, and there are differences. Obviously, a soya-based product is going to have, less impact in that way. But if you're looking at it just purely from a cardiovascular system point of view, or these sort of issues that a nutritionist will look at, then it's probably not that different. But if it's just a treat, as it were, opposed to what you are going to do in your new lifestyle, then it's just that thing that you can cope with to get to the airport or to, but that should not be how you live your life for either person, if you see what I mean. That's just a kind of an extra to life, not a lifestyle to go to a takeaway every day for lunch or so on.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really getting back to the sort of basic principles that I'm sure as a nutritionist that you would promote, whereby you want raw ingredients, you want to cook from scratch,
I think it's
you want to know where
veganism.
your food comes from.
It is a shame because actually, to my mind, something like that undermines the very positive nature of a plant-based diet. But we all eat out with friends. We all have, times where we need to grab and go, as is a great tagline. And sometimes we do need to have these options available to us. But I think it's more about education and responsibility for our own bodies, that we need to think, this is part of a big picture. This isn't the picture.
Yeah.
And it's helping us cheat.
And we have to remember, though, that veganism sits within society, and our society has for decades moved towards processed packaged foods.
Exactly.
It's not only vegans who are buying processed packaged foods.
Oh, no, not at all. Not at all. But
That's
I mean,
what I'm saying. It's got to
vegans
be
have
part of a
traditionally
big
kind of
picture.
stood out against that, and they have been much more about...
There's an assumption that veganism is about health and that people eat vegan for health. What we have to remember is vegans are doing this out of a moral commitment.
Well, some vegans are.
The question is, can you
I now know a lot of people who would describe themselves as vegan, and it's not because of animal welfare.
The question is, can you be healthy? Can you thrive on a vegan diet? And the answer is yes. The dietetics associations all confirm we can get everything we need on a good vegan diet.
Well, yeah, you can, but now we're getting to the stage as could you be vegan and be unhealthy? Not because, you couldn't be healthy on a vegan diet, but basically you're just a fast food addict, but you're a vegan fast food addict.
Any fast food person who's eating nothing but processed food will be unhealthy, no matter what diet they follow.
I mean, I just wonder if it's an interesting junction that you've come to as somebody who's clearly advocated veganism, I imagine, for a long time, and for the reasons that you've described, Barbara, that everyone seems to be into it. It seems to be everyone's favourite kind of food trend at the moment. But from your point of view, as a principled vegan, if you like, is it, when it gets into the hands of big business, at risk of being somehow debased?
Well, when I said at the start there are pros and cons, that's really the con, because the negative side of it is that it's being diluted, and the media and big business are jumping on the bandwagon and portraying veganism as something new and something the capitalist. So we're not going to buy our way out of the destruction of the planet and our slaughter of other beings. We are going to do that by changing our mindset. And so we have to work even harder now to bring people back to what veganism really is. So this whole descriptor of ethical vegan, which has recently been in the media because of the recent court decision, that is a recent thing which has come out of necessity to distinguish actual veganism from eating plants, and eating plants some of the time.
I just wonder if you're going to get drowned out.
Well, we very much hope not. What I hope will happen is, we can't do anything about the fact that veganism as a diet is now out there in the media, but what we can do is try to bring those people who are now looking into it to the actual ethics of it. And veganism goes back to the 1930s in this country.
Do you think the big burger chains are that bothered about the ethics of it? I mean, one of them, I think it was Burger King, and they'll have to sue me if I'm wrong, said, well, yeah, we've got a vegan burger. Yeah, we put it on the same grill as the meat burger.
Well, what often happens is is when people stop consuming animal products and buying into that system, they open their minds to other things that they haven't been paying attention to.
But the evidence so far seems to be that just, they're selling as many meat burgers, but they're selling a few extra vegan burgers because they're just expanding the market.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think corporations are not going to get us out of this. We have to make individual decisions that we're not going to be part of this anymore. And we speak to individuals.
Sorry, what do you mean?
About deciding that you'll not participate in the killing of other animals and in human rights violations as well, and that you'll tune into our role in the destruction of the environment. Corporations are not going to get us out of this. Governments are not going to get us out of this because they're in hock with the corporations. Quality Meat Scotland is a government entity in Scotland. So that's how in bed they are with big business.
The other thing just on it in terms of impact on the climate, and again, Bricka, to bring you in on this, I mean, if we see this explosion on plant-based options, then we will also have to look in what impact the ingredients, whatever these ingredients are, identify the ingredients, where are they coming from, what impact are they having on the local environment from where they're sourced, are they being sourced locally, or are they actually being flown thousands of miles across the world?
The food miles, absolutely, and we would have to think seriously in Scotland from an environmental point of view of what we were doing. The farmers will argue that the cows and the sheep that we have in Scotland on land that we can't grow, like the vegetables that we would want to, they would argue that they're making the little grass really, suck up the CO2. So they would look at that as a balance for their argument that that's land that we can only do that with. We could have oat milk instead of, buying in, a lovely Scottish oats could be turned into oat milk so that we're not reliant on dairy, because we've got oats in Scotland. I'm all about local and all about seasonal, and as a lifestyle, as an ethical lifestyle, that's absolutely fantastic. But I personally think that we can all do a little bit of ethical living, or hopefully become a lot of ethical living. And if everybody in Scotland did one little thing, that would make a huge difference. Just one meat-free day. And that's a lot of animals that don't have to be killed or cared for or produce emissions or any of the things. So let's just look at this and say,
one meat-free day rather than totally?
Because people have to transition, because people have choice, and I understand fully that Barbara's got a really strong opinion about her choice of living, and that I'm hat off to her. But not everybody in Scotland's going to do that overnight. So why don't we just do a little bit of that, and hopefully that becomes a lot of that, and a lot of people joining together becomes, I don't think it's an all or nothing situation.
I totally agree on the imports, that we have to reduce our imports. We currently import 90% of the fruit and veg that we eat in the UK. The way that we would be able to produce more at home and become more self-sufficient is by freeing up some of the vast areas of land that we use for animals right now. If we took animals out of the food system and we used 50% of our cropland is used to grow food that's fed to animals, and we reduce the caloric output by about 10 to 20%, 20 times rather. If we were to grow more food for humans, we could feed everyone in this country a healthful diet meeting all their macro and micronutrient requirements, and we could reforest the areas of land that are currently used for grazing. We used to have native woodland all across Scotland, and the carbon capture that could achieve, the biodiversity that would bring back to this country, and the enjoyment we could get from nature.
But I mean, all of that is predicated on, people who do not want to slaughter animals or use animal products in their life for ethical reasons, that you clearly hold, Barbara. If other people are getting involved in a vegan, flexitarian, plant-free diet, they may be doing it for other reasons, so they may come to a different conclusion.
Well, I think that, I speak to people on our voluntary stalls almost every week, and I think that the vast majority of people in Scotland believe animals shouldn't be harmed unnecessarily, and yet they are paying for animals to be harmed and killed for them unnecessarily almost every day. And when they allow themselves to really contemplate,
we've got a lot more meat eaters in Scotland than non-meat eaters
because of the way we're brought up. We're lied to.
Yeah, well. Like Becca says, I totally respect your position, but I mean, there will be people, other positions are available, as with everything in life. And I mean, it is, as I say, a very interesting junction that you find yourself at, because it should be happy days that so many people are much more open to a vegan lifestyle, a vegan diet, but there are various forks in the road here.
Let's go for quality rather than quantity.
Yeah.
Let's just make it really good when we do it and help our whole health and help our psyche as a nation, help our industry as a nation, and hopefully make a move towards health for our nation. And I think it's really important to have everybody doing their bit. And if this is a little bit for Scotland to try and get ourselves healthier, then that's got to be a good thing.
Yeah, but it's where the fast food vegan stuff fits into that.
Well, we should all be cooking more. We should definitely all be cooking more and preparing more from whole foods.
Treats for treats.
But we have to think about mental health as well as physical health, and surely violence in our lives day in and day out is not good for any of our mental health.
Yeah. Well, Barbara, listen, thank you very much indeed. That's Barbara Bolton, who's the legal counsel for Go Vegan World. Becca Miller, nutritionist. Somebody's saying, have you watched the documentary called The Game Changers? If not, I would recommend you to do. It's all about plant-based diet. I've heard about this. I haven't watched that yet, so I'm going to have to put that on my list. Robin prefers non-meat, non-dairy products because he doesn't digest animal fats effectively. So vegan products are a bonus. Why can't they be on the menu regardless of what they're being on? I think what is interesting here is that people do have different motivations. And again, Kirsty's saying no issue with the vegan moment. However, how sustainable is shipping fruit and veg from across the world to sustain vegan diets year-round or grown in the UK artificially heated and maintained greenhouses? Why should meat eaters be condemned for eating locally reared, organic, sustainable food available at a much lower carbon footprint? Morally, I know which I think is better. So many competing interests. Interesting stuff. Thank you very much, Becca, and thanks, Barbara.